There we go.
There we go.
Yep.
Now there's audio.
Everything got effed up when they switched it.
That was a multi-layer
Yep.
red herring. All right, welcome to the 034 Motorsport Zero Bullshit Q&A. I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart. We're going to answer all your questions with no bullshit, as the name implies. We're here to answer all your questions and hear all your comments about all things 034 Motorsport. Feel free to ask about anything if you'd like, but we tend to focus on the 034 stuff. We do take a direct approach to responding to questions. We like to cut to the truth or the heart of the matter. We are deprioritizing update questions, which is when is this going to be done? When's that going to be ready? Because we don't really always have good answers for that. And we typically are overwhelmed, inundated with other types of legitimate questions that require zero bullshit response. All right, and put your question into the browser comment field of your choice, and
we're on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
We will transcribe it to these little space devices, and then we will answer your questions. So we already have a bunch of questions here. Let's jump right into it. First question I saw, just want to get this one out of the way. Where'd that Subaru one go?
Oh boy. We have a Subaru one?
Oh, okay. Someone says, I have a Subaru STi and a 2015 TTS AJ owner. Why don't you guys make air oil separators versus catch cans? Well, I want to state very clearly that what we make are air oil separators. So I'm shocked and concerned at why that's not apparent to you. But the only way our catch cans can catch anything is if they separate the air from the oil. Now, for example, if the air and oil didn't separate, that would mean all the oil would go out of the catch can and never go into it. Or all the air and oil would stay in the catch can and be caught, and then basically a black hole would be created after so much time and so much air and oil compacting into a singularity. The entire universe would implode into the place where the catch can used to be.
It's a tricky spot to be in. We try to avoid those.
So those are kind of the two extremes, and we target in the middle where air comes into the can, and we employ a vortex air oil separation technique where we use the inherent fact that oil is more dense than air. And so as air is forced into our catch can, it comes in tangentially into the catch can and starts swirling around the inside. And so this swirling action causes the big bits, the heavy bits, to fly out and stick to the side of the can.
They more kind of just like crash into the side, because they just want to keep going where they're going.
They eventually collide into the side of the can, and where they can drain down into the bottom of the can. The air consequently starts to become pressurized and is forced out of the center of the can and out into the turbo inlet system.
It's honestly very similar to how the OEMs do it on all of their.
OEMs absolutely do it.
There's swirl plates within the breather system.
Where I got this idea from, I didn't invent the vortex catch can. I got it from the aircraft industry. So I used to, even before I started 034, I used to buy parts from Pegasus Racing, and they would supply, I think it was Pegasus, they would supply automotive racing. They also had aircraft parts too for some reason, and so they had a little air oil separator that employed this same tactic. And so I started initially I bought air oil separator vortex catch cans from Pegasus, and I would just resell those because I got a wholesale discount from Pegasus. And then I built a kit around it. In fact, if you go on 80tq.com, you could probably see a time when I had one on my 80. I don't know if it's still there. And then, the one I was using wasn't big enough, and it was a little small for 800 horsepower cars. So I decided to make our own version, and we went from there. It used to be mounted right down in here.
What's that guy? He's got some lines going.
Oh, that was a gauge.
Oh yeah.
That was like a fuel pressure gauge.
So we're reviewing the historical archives here.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, the idea with our catch cans is if oil is being caught, then the air is coming out, and that means they've separated. So I hope this is pretty obvious to you that there would be no way to make a catch can that catches oil if it didn't also separate it. Now there is a situation where if you have a lot of like liquid oil coming out of your crankcase, then yes, the oil would spill into the catch can and settle in the bottom, and the air would release. But and the fact of the matter is, the major problem with air and oil in these cars isn't always, liquid oil. It's these big oil droplets that are suspended in the air, and that goes out into the intake system where it deposits then on the intake system and pools up and causes issues. So I think maybe what you're thinking is there's companies that have like catch cans with screens in them, and the air and oil is forced through those screens. You can
blast it through like a Brillo pad.
Yeah, in my experience, those don't work as well as the Vortex method. And I really like the idea of not having like steel wool crap in the oil catch can that can go into your crankcase and get into your oil system. So, and also your inlet system. So, anyways,
I think we answered that.
Yeah. How to reduce understeer in a Mark 8 Golf R. Well, you install our springs and sway bars, and then you add camber to the front.
Yeah, camber, and then you can get extra spicy with some of the rear toe alignment if you really want it to be a much more lively rear end. But you can get those cars quite neutral with just those mods.
Yeah, and a properly set up car like an RS3 or a Golf R, in these type of cars, which are kind of front wheel based platforms, when they handle really well, they don't oversteer either. They do this crazy weird thing you turn the steering wheel and the front tires bite and turn with your steering input, and it's bizarre. So it's unlike an Audi sedan where to get it to turn, you would go into the corner and the rear end will kind of come around, and so you actually be kind of like counter steering into the turn. These Volkswagen based platforms, again, I'm sorry, an RS3 is a Volkswagen based platform. I mean, you tune the steering wheel and it's biting and digging in, and the rear end's like not even.
You'll get some yaw out of the rear, but it's not like you're not modulating it nearly as much as you do on big platforms. But it'll take a little set and kind of ride its own,
Yeah, and that's when you have
always active in the rear.
Yeah, that's when you have all the alignment settings dialed in too. So if you go, Sean, maybe you can clarify. I think it's one of our RS3 suspension product pages. We list the general alignment settings and strategy that we use on that, which would also work for a Golf R or anything.
Yeah, even a GTI. I mean, like I said, the geometry on those is the same in the rear.
Yeah, and when you're going through corners like that, you're not necessarily engaging the rear hull decks either. So you're pretty much putting down the power like a front-wheel drive car would be. Maybe when you're exiting the corner,
that's where it changes. The rear will come. That's just your line is going to be different.
Yeah. What can we expect from a reliability standpoint and longevity of B9 S4 platform with Stage 2 ECU and TCU tune? There's been a lot of talk about B9 3.0T failures. We have probably more data than anybody. I would bet that we do. We sell more tunes than APR, Integrated Engineering, Unitronic. We own the B9 market, and we have a lot of data, which means we have a lot of cars running these calibrations and tunes with our products. From a day-to-day drivability, reliability, like, is it going to break down and you're not going to get home? Excellent. Very rarely do we ever hear of any issues related to that. And we do pretty much hear of every issue that our customers have with our products. People are pretty good about contacting customer service. As far as engine failures, the number of failures we've had on Stage 2 are very, very low. Like well below 0.5%.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, like everyone we've seen has been one of the like normal like issues that we've seen across the board.
Well, it's something related to do with fuel injector failure, clogging. You know, there's a reason. It's not the tune that caused the failure or anything like that, but these are high output, high performance vehicles, and they are going to require more care and maintenance than say a base Honda Camry or Toyota Camry or whatever.
Honda Camry will get you somewhere.
But on a full stage 2, you're looking at 500-600 horsepower car, very very reliable. Considering that it's turbocharged and relatively small displacement. Some common failure points are the factory coil packs can fail. Again, you're going to get a misfire. The early version of like the water pump thermostat housing is failure prone.
Yep.
The PCV failure on tuned cars, where the factory PCV check valve will fail under the higher boost conditions. And on early,
those fail stock as well. It's just it's higher stress,
aggravated, more aggravated. Yeah, and all these failure points that I'm talking about are on stock cars too. But things do get aggravated or accelerated.
Yeah, the water pump, they literally just they
fail. The water pump, that has nothing to do with being tuned. That's just so. Anyways, I think it's a great, fun, reliable car. The prices have come down quite a bit in the last few years.
Bang for the buck
is huge. Really fun cars.
Yep.
Any updates coming to stage 2? Literally an update question. Stage 2 B9.5 S4 ECU and TCU.
Yes, certainly have some calibration updates coming for both. The TCU was going to be dependent on what year 9.5 you've got, if we've got the unlock in place yet or not. So, we are actively working every day on updated calibrations for both. So, without more specifics, that's covers it all.
Someone's asking, I heard you guys mention that the head on the TTE RS5 lifted. Are you thinking about maybe turning down the boost a little bit?
We've talked about this.
We could do a standard output file for that.
That we have talked about. That's something we are working on as well. That's one of the current projects.
It just depends which way you want to go. The head studs solve it, and there's no other failure issues after that. So I think for most people, they don't want to go down in power; they want to go up, and so relatively, it's a chunk of labor. Yeah. The parts are cheap, but once you do that, you have a rock solid platform.
And we've talked about it too. I think we've seen 1 or 2 customers that have gotten to that point. We get to that point because we're on the dyno all the time with these cars. We're drag racing all the time. We're at the road course all the time. So we try and put it through, we do put it through way more sustained load than anybody out there for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
We come across these kind of situations quite rapidly.
Yeah.
And the way they fail on these two, it's not a catastrophic or even a noticeable failure unless it's under sustained load conditions. You'll get some coolant burping.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're a day-to-day street use RS5 owner, you're probably not going to have that. I mean, we've seen almost nobody like that have the problem. The problem has been exclusively the kind of heavy loads that we subject the car to, or a lot of drag racing and track driving, then you start to see it. Are there any 18-inch ZTF wheels that will fit the B8 S4? Yeah, absolutely. The 18 by 8.5 LP01 flow forms are perfect. They fit great on there. They're great for drag racing. It's a nice high performance tire that you could run year round in most places.
Wheel.
Yeah, sorry. High performance wheel that you can run year round with various tires. You get that extra sidewall, which helps with potholes and driving in the cold and stuff like that. B8.5 S5 with advanced launch control turned on. Does the coolant pump run with the engine off and key on?
Oh gosh, I need to look back and see. I believe it does. I'll have to confirm that though.
Yeah,
would need to confirm.
Okay, well, do we have an ETA we can give? We don't. We should. There should be an ETA.
This is for another question coming up.
Yeah. There's apparently a bunch of people who are flooding in, asking about B9 S34 Intake ETAs. I don't have that information in front of me. I do know that we've had trouble supplying enough subcomponents to meet the demand. So the most popular, most intakes we've ever sold of any intake we've ever released. So we do get in components and they ship right out, and there's still people waiting. So I don't know. Maybe we can. No, I know. This is the problem. I can't answer it right now, but we could send an email to anyone who has an order with more information on when they'll ship. But I think asking over and over again in this form, it's just not helpful. I don't have that information off the top of my head. I'm aware of the situation, the dynamic, but if you're tired of waiting, we can give you a refund. Absolutely no problem. But we will try to send out an update for anyone who's interested. All right. HATTRS 2015, what mods should I start with? Just got it. I hate the throttle lag response. Will your TCU stage 2 help? Then there's a follow-up saying that this person just went with our stage 1 ECU TCU tuning.
Uh-huh. We don't currently have TCU software for that application. Oh wait, TTS. I'm sorry, my brain was reading TTRS. Yes, TTS DP250. We do have software for that.
Yeah. Do we have springs for that?
For TTS,
we don't have Dynamic Plus springs for that. Yeah, that's the AJ.
Yeah.
Well, in general, I would say, springs and sway bars are a good start.
He's more worried about throttle lag and response.
Well, he says, what mod should I start with?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, I guess I don't know which mods.
Yeah,
completely engine focused. That's different. But, stage 1 ECU, TCU is the right way to go.
Yep.
That's just the AJ. That's a PQ35 chassis. So it really isn't, but thank you. We do have a sway bar and rear trailing arm bushings, which will really tighten up the rear end.
Yep.
You don't need a front sway bar in that car. You can stick with the stock one.
Yep.
I would recommend good suspension. I can't recommend a good lowering spring because the typical options out there, in my experience, don't ride very well. But I know for those cars, some of the MSS stuff is good because you can choose, your rates.
Yep.
Or a KW variants, variant 1 even would be a nice option for that car.
Yep.
I wish we had a full program for that, but that was kind of before we started really doing full chassis platforms we do now.
As far as the power lag or delay, I don't know. You're not going to see much difference between stage 1 and stage 2 TCU for sure. That's just more shift point, torque, strategy stuff.
What about throttle response?
What's that?
Throttle response, throttle lag.
He's already on stage 1 software. I mean, you've got a KO4 2-liter, so that kind of just is the nature of what you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not going to be a lot of options just to make that more snappy.
When using the Wagner main studs for the 3.0 and 2.9, is it required to align hone for the main caps, given the studs have a higher torque clamping force than the OEM bolts? Can cause ovaling of caps. It's a good idea to. In general, I would as part of an engine build. I think there's a chance that you could torque them without doing that, but at this point, officially, we would only recommend align boring it.
That's kind of a
with any change like that.
Engine build thing.
Yeah. So if you want to kind of just swap them out, without rebuilding the engine, then I would not do that right now. You could, if you have the skills, you could use a plastic gauge and
you can check it
and check the tolerances after they're torqued and evaluate yourself. So that's an option. So I wouldn't say absolutely not, no way, but I think with the right checks and verifications, you could. But as far as a blanket, rule of thumb, yes, align bore it unless you know better. In general, we offer those for anyone who's doing a full build. It's a while you're in there type modification. It's not necessarily like swap in some main studs in your garage, type mod. The head studs, I would say, are more like that, where you could just pull the heads, put new gaskets in, and
there's not a lot of critical dimensional stuff you're dealing with there.
Does the MK8 GTI or Golf R need a catch can or not due to the redesigned Gen 4 PCV? We are working on one for those. I do believe that the newer generation PCV is better, but I think we still have some track testing to do, and so we'll release more information on that. In general, we found that virtually all Volkswagen Audis benefit from a catch can. What do you think about fast SUVs? Well, I have one. I think they're great. I mean, if you need, I think the argument for a Q7 is if you regularly need the room to drive around 5, 6, 7 people, Q7 is a great option.
Yep.
I have driven a number of like Q3s.
The little guys. Yeah.
They're awesome. It's just like a GTI or an A3, but just a little higher, a little comfier, little hit curbs whenever you want to. Just more suspension travel, more, and they are different. It's a different shape. It is a little roomier, it's probably a little bit more cargo space than a sedan or a hatchback. So yeah, I don't know. And then the SQ5s are awesome. Just had one of our customers, David Mushienko, run a 9.995 at 135 miles an hour in his TTE810 034 tuned SQ5 B9 with a number of 10.0 runs to back it up. He managed to hit a 1.44 60 foot with this turbo.
That's insane.
And a bunch of our sporting mods. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then he drove the car home, took his wife out to dinner and like grocery shopping, afterwards. So pretty incredible. Yeah, I think it's just personal choice. I mean, the American consumer is moving towards SUVs. Americans like SUVs, and Volkswagen and Audi are responding. There's now more Tiguan's than Golfs in the U.S. being sold in the U.S. Volkswagen is making more Tiguan's than Golfs. Yeah, it used to be Volkswagen would sell like 1 million Golfs a year, and now those Tiguan's are eclipsing it. So, yeah, people are voting for the roomier option. Speaking of David Mushienko, what's his YouTube channel?
Need for Built.
Need for Built, yeah. Yes. Need for Built, all one word.
With a number in the middle.
Yeah, the number 4. Sorry, Need number 4 Built. But he has a great 034 tour. I mentioned it last week.
Yeah, he was out here for Winterfest.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, he got with some of our marketing guys and just showed him around the building, and it's great. Honestly, it's like better than what you'd see like on your local TV,
It was very well done, yeah.
Yeah, he's very talented. Behind the camera, just as his demeanor is great, but also his editing and everything. I believe he does all of his own stuff. So very good. I would say between him and Dad Mods.
Oh, Midlife Mods.
Midlife Mods. Yeah, those are my two favorite
channel.
2 favorite 034 kind of focused YouTube peeps. Although I feel like Midlife Dad Mods is that taken? I'm
sure.
That's a pretty fucking good.
Let me subscribe our channel.
Can we check real quick?
I'm gonna make sure I'm on the 034 account when I search for this. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's a car channel too.
Oh fuck, man, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Midlife Mods. Does he need some new content? What's going on?
Charger scat back.
He's doing some stuff.
Is he? Oh, in real life?
Yeah. You put on Hot Wheels recently. So
Real life doesn't get you views. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that is true.
The level of engagement with real life is 0. If you had an unlimited R&D budget, what would you make? Oh my god!
Unlimited R&D, all the things. Then you just unlimited just means you hire everybody you want.
I think I would build a carbon capture device that could reverse
there you go.
climate change. As far as cars go, I think I could get really excited about like. This is something that I've wanted to do, but I just haven't been able to justify it. Like a Gen 2 R8 with, the latest 5-cylinder DNWA or whatever in it, making like 1,000 horsepower. That would be really fun. That's probably what I would do. Or maybe like an RS6 4.0 T. One of the two. RS6 would be a better idea. I mean, probably be a better car, but just the sound of the i5.
Yeah,
stuff
ripping around in an
would be
R8
really cool.
cool.
Yeah, just do like 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, something mild.
Some rods. Do a pedal commander on it. Get really crazy.
Are you sure you don't want the base power one?
Yes, I would take that one. How about you, Nate?
Oh, I mean, work-wise, we would have a field of engineers, and all of our software stuff would have all of the resources thrown at it, so nobody could ask when this is coming out, what is going on. So yeah, no, just
wait. Says the guy that has 10 times as much resources as he did 4 years ago.
Yes, it's a big exponential.
Yes,
needed on that.
The more you have, the more you want.
Exactly. Yeah. You see more and more projects that you want to get to every day. So it would just be unlocking all that potential.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have lots of ideas, lots of prototype stuff, lots of.
Okay, but I thought the question was, what car would you build?
If you had anything,
because you're
unlimited R&D budget, what would you?
You're showing me up. You gave the world peace answer, and it's like no, not world peace.
Did you?
What car?
Did we wipe the question off? It was like.
Yeah, if you had an unlimited R&D budget, what car would you build?
I didn't say car. I don't think.
What parts would you make?
Oh, parts.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
I read it as what car?
Or what parts would you make? Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it was parts.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally read it as car. What car would you build? Which is why I answered it. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, the question though, Nate, is what would you build?
Well, yeah.
You just said you want more R&D.
Unlimited software team.
But what would they do?
I mean, you could build a team.
Yeah, build a team. I mean, I got.
That's not a product. I wish that was a.
There'll be some products. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I take some heat for not getting products out from time to time. So.
Yeah, but which products?
That's what I'm saying. There's more than one. There's a lot in there.
There are some really interesting, crazy ideas. The problem with this question is, aside from me misunderstanding it 7 times, is then what do you do with it? So does it have to be?
yeah, exactly.
Does the product also have to be viable? So
that's the beauty about unlimited R&D, though. You can be like just pouring money out and see what sticks, and they don't all have to be viable.
Yeah, but there are neat ideas where the technology is just beyond what a company like ours could afford.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the kind of thing that Apple.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was
Google
going. It's like, you have literally essentially unlimited, steering power to where you want to point your ship. So,
but like crazy. Products that allow customers to adjust their own tuning.
We would have a crackle knob. I can just
unlimited crackle knobs. Any kind of shifting you could want from 0 to hero.
The microtransaction crackle files.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could have like Kli Max shifting from like none to porn star and everything in between.
Yep.
But full Apple CarPlay integration and that kind of stuff. Much more intuitive, user friendly mobile integration.
When you say unlimited, things can get really spicy.
There's no such thing as unlimited, though, right? So it's just like in practice, what could we do that we would never be able to justify, and in with the kind of time and money that a relatively small company like ours has. But it's an interesting question. We should think about that more and dream really big. Yeah, absolutely. Have you thought about installing a lightweight flywheel on the B8 with the 1900 or even Hoosier Dr2s?
Oh, yes. I mean, as far as the flywheel, I like to do as much calibration as we can with as similar a setup as possible. So most of our cars are not going to be, built to the tilt, built to the with every mod possible, because that doesn't represent 99% of the cars we're trying to, calibrate towards. So the flywheel, the stock flywheel is still holding on strong. I've had 0 issues ever on one of those yet. So we haven't had a reason to replace it. It's not very common at all in the aftermarket. And so I can think of like 2 cars I know of offhand that have one. And tuning is not really affected by it either, as far as they're concerned on that end. But if we start tuning for it, or it may mask a tuning issue if we have it on our car, where we're unable to rev match as quick as we need, or it's, then you get into overshoots or undershoots. When you have
in general, I don't feel like DSG flywheels have been as impactful as, say, like manual.
Oh no, yeah, because it's so well controlled already. Yeah. You're not working around that you're not dealing with the synchros like you are with the manual. So you're not disengaging one set and then re-engaging a synchro set and then going. Your synchros are already engaged for the next gear, so it's just a flip onto the next shaft.
Yeah, it's just the benefits just aren't there.
Yeah, if anything, when you're doing like an AMAX shift, it's going to be more beneficial because you've got all that inertial load inside that flywheel now that's going to help accelerate the car through that gear change even more. Yeah. Versus the traditional shift where it's got to slow down and match the RPMs.
There's actually nothing wrong with having some mass in your crankshaft assembly and your drivetrain. It helps just about everything.
Everything except quick rev match stuff, which is not really. It's not nearly as much of a thing with DSGs because you're already engaged to that next gear set. You've got all the time in the world to get that gear set engaged to while you're in the previous.
It's just you make trade-offs, right? So like the factory puts a ton of weight. Like, let's go back to manual transmission days. Yeah. The factory would put a 30 or 40 pound flywheel on because it smooths out the pulses between combustion events. It makes clutch operation so much easier. Yeah. It makes the car drive smoother. It makes the car quieter. It's better for the transmission gears and the synchros and everything. Now, and that's for normal driving that the average consumer would do. The compromise once you start racing is that inertia resists changing speed. Things in motion tend to stay in motion, right? And so when you have 40 pounds that's spinning, it doesn't want to stop spinning, which is the whole reason the factory put it there. But once you start racing and you're say you're rev matching or you're downshifting, it benefits you to get the engine to change speeds faster. So then you reduce the weight. So then what happens? Gears start rattling. Clutch operation becomes difficult. Reliability goes down. So then you go to racing, and so you start dialing out even more weight. In fact, if you've ever been to an SCCA or Grand Am events, you've probably heard a Porsche just like, like going from
almost every Porsche these days.
Yeah, going from 1,000 RPM to 7,000 RPM back to idle in half a second, and that is literally no flywheel. So now you have a clutch friction surface, which probably only weighs like a pound, and then you have a very light ring gear assembly. So the entire flywheel goes from 40 pounds down to like 2 or 3 pounds. Those cars are virtually undrivable. Typically, you see racetracks where people are pushing cars to get them, just moving from a stop. Once you're down to that kind of weight, like F1 cars and things have, your ability, there is no inertia anymore in the drivetrain. So these are just compromises, and you have to choose which you want to make, which ones you want to accept. And Whether if you're driving on the street, if you're a weekend racer, if you're a racer or professional racer, you're gonna choose a different mix of compromises. But there is no one best option. So this is the same problem with DSG. But the nice thing about DSG, like Nate says, you eliminate a lot of the issues that manual transmissions have, and you solve that with technology and complexity.
Yeah. So, and of course, there is some trade-off on, like, especially in the lower gears, you're going to have that rate of acceleration where you're loading, some of that energy into that flywheel. So there are reasons that you will can go to
receive some benefits. Yeah. But what I'm arguing is that for the average 99% of DSG drivers, the benefit just isn't there. Yeah. You get something, and what you give up is more than what you get.
Yeah. And so often mods like that are while you're in there too. And
it's a lot of work to install.
It's a lot of work to install. So
I mean, even more than a manual.
The factory, dual mass has thankfully been very solid on this.
Yeah. All right, we gotta keep moving. B9 3.0T stage 3 standard output versus high output. Why should I run one file versus the other? Well, this is a good question. We've definitely gone over this in the past,
and I think a lot of people still don't absorb what we say about it.
Stage 3 tunes are safe, but the more boost you run, the further you take the fuel system, the closer you get to the potential failure or problem that you might have.
Your weak links are going to be, the link that's holding it together, as with anything.
So I've described this before. It's like if you're doing something, let's say you're riding a bike on top of a building, and if you want to be really careful and not fall over the edge, you won't ride, you'll draw a line that's 10 feet from the edge, and you'll never go past that 10-foot line. Could you still go over the edge? Yeah. But with 10 feet, the chances are pretty small, right? If there's a problem with the bike and you lost control, you could fall and slide 5 feet and you still wouldn't go over the edge. Now, can you push that line to 5 feet from the edge? Absolutely. Is it still safe? Yeah, definitely. But what if you fall and you slide 5 feet? You're probably going to fall over the edge, So in the rare instance that something goes wrong, you're right there. Now, could you ride within 1 foot of the edge? Absolutely. It's very safe. But if you lose your balance and fall, you will no longer hit the building. You'll just fall off the side. What are the chances of you falling off the bike? Pretty low. I ride my bike every day. I don't fall off ever. But could you fall off? Yes. And what would happen? You'd fall off the building. So with these, what we're trying to do with the standard and high output files is give people the options of how close to the edge do they want to get. All these files are safe. All these files are calibrated and engineered with factory safety systems built in. But the closer you get to the edge, the higher the chance of something going wrong if you fall. Okay. And so if you're a very safe person, and if you can't afford to fall off the edge and you don't ever want to get close to, then we created the standard output file for you. This puts the tune and the calibration well within the fuel system capacity. These files run a lambda of 0.89 or lower on E85, and on pump fuels, they will go sub 0.8. They have plenty of headroom in place. Even if one of your injectors gets slightly clogged and loses output, you're not going to fall off the building. You're going to fall over the line, but you'll be okay, right? So at some point, you'll get a code or a misfire for having an injector or fuel system issue, and then you can investigate that without blowing up your motor or anything like that. Now, there are people out there who have a higher appetite for risk. I watched a video this morning of a guy in a squirrel suit who jumped out of an airplane. No, seriously. And there's like a mountain.
Like a flying squirrel suit, I'm talking?
Yeah. A squirrel suit.
I don't think I've ever heard him called a squirrel suit. That makes no sense. No.
Yeah. And so there is a arch on some ridge somewhere in, I don't know where the fuck it was, Argentina. And this motherfucker flew through this opening. He was doing like probably 200 plus miles an hour. If he would have hit any part of that, red mist.
Yep.
This guy flew right through the middle of it. And this is all being video too, right? So it's just been a video of him turning into grape jelly.
Did it look like a pepperoni pizza all around that arch from the guys that like tried before? Just like,
I don't think anyone's ever tried it. I mean, it's pure suicide. So we don't even offer a file for that guy. But let's say if you would get out of an airplane in a squirrel suit and somehow come back down to earth, we've got the high output file for you. What's the chance of squirrel suit failing? Very low, apparently. But if it does, what happens? You fall out of the sky and die. And your parachute fails too.
And all the other things. Landing of that would be...
The high output file is that file where instead of being 10 foot from the edge, you're now 5 feet from the edge. So, again, if you fall, you're still going to land on the building. But if you're going really fast and you slide, maybe you'll tumble over the edge. Who knows?
And one thing I think that keeps getting missed too, the high output file is intended for people that are fully set up, they've gone through, validated their hardware is in good shape. We've got logs that we've reviewed for you to confirm all that. It says that right in all of the files on the server that we need to review that, make sure everything's good. And yet we still get people, it's like, hey, I installed the A10 running the high output file on E60. I've got these faults and I've got, fueling issues and I'm worried about this and that. It's like, well, you didn't do any of those steps. You didn't talk to us about any of the preemptive checks that we want to put in place because we want to ensure you have the best experience.
So yes, if we were operating this sky deck on the top of this building and you said I want to ride my bike with the 5 foot line, then we say okay, cool. We're gonna have to inspect your bike, make sure your tires aren't leaking.
You ride for a little bit.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go through a skills course to make sure that you have full control of the bike. And once you check out, you're the right height. Your bike fits you, whatever the basic checks that we can do. You're welcome to go ride because you're probably never going to fall, even though you're only 5 feet from the edge. And so, we have had some customers have issues on these high output files who didn't go through the safety checks, who didn't contact us, who just flashed the file and then had a problem. Turns out they had a system or component problem that has showed up in logs, or they had a code or something and they didn't tell us. And they went right 5 feet from the edge and they fell over because their bike wasn't verified to be safe.
So we've talked about, locking down the files more, making them less accessible to prevent some of that.
We have, although we're very clear already about do not run this file unless you contact us and we do a log check, etc. So I don't believe any other tuner is offering this for these turbo tunes. And some people have tried to use this against us by saying, oh, your files aren't safe, which is why you had to do this or that or blah, blah, blah. That's just not true. I'm sorry. Again, we're allowing customers to choose, their appetite for risk. The standard output file is a very safe, well within bounds file. The high output file is pushing it for those people who are checking their car, ensuring it's safe. As long as your injectors spec out, as long as your ignition system specs out, as long as you have good coils,
your boost controls in order,
spark plugs, boost control, then the high output files are safe, and we run them. We have many. I won't say numbers because that's our secret. Because our competitors would love to know how many tunes we're selling, but we have many customers running it every day in and day out. We just had David Mushienko run 9s in that file, with that file, off the shelf file, and drove home, to his family. So I think this is a great service. This is a great option that we're offering. From my view, it makes 034 the absolute no-brainer choice.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, like people are like, well, X tuner is going to make a bunch of power and have a safer or whatever design tune.
How?
That margin is we're not just making up this limitation. There's the hardware constraints that everybody is working within on these systems. So you cannot make any more power with any less compromises.
If somebody's making more power than us, they also can't be safer. Right. So if someone's pushing the power numbers past our high output files, then they are getting closer and closer to the edge. Okay. So instead of being 5 feet from the edge, they're now what? 4, 3, 2. How close to the edge do they get? Yeah. But there's no magical, so-and-so tuner is so good that they somehow solved around the laws of physics.
The physical limitations
No.
of the components on the motor. Yeah.
Physics isn't just a good idea. It's the law. So, but there's a lot of people who are bullshitting, lying about what they're doing, and we're being very honest and transparent about what we do for these tunes and calibrations. One of our competitors is having customers who have problems sign an NDA, so they can't even say anything. So you stopped hearing about the failures because their customers are sworn to secrecy. If they get a solution from them, they have to sign an NDA. We don't do that, by the way. We've never had a customer sign an NDA to hide or cover up
a hush DA,
a hush agreement. I hear you can get in trouble for those. All right, we got any that we should hit. We got tons of questions.
Update questions.
Yes, we are still working on and preparing to release our 4M Q7 tune that I drove here on this morning. It's really fun and it is coming.
It is coming. Yeah. As much as we don't want to hear that all the time.
If you want a date, we don't have one.
It's a server tech issue that is on my plate to wrap up. It's all
Nate's working as well.
It's basically it's there. I just need to spend some more hours on it. So that's all that's holding us up right now.
Yeah. So we will support the up and coming 034 Motorsport Supercharger clutch delete, which I'm also running on my car.
Yep. We
will be releasing a titanium and a chromoly steel version. The titanium version is about half the weight. They will be very competitively priced compared to what's out there now, which I don't understand how that's being sold at that price. It's pretty absurd. And we will have support for 91, 93.
91, 93, 100, and E85 is initially
full
on
E85 as well. And then we will, initially it'll be stage 1, and then we will work on stage 2 and other options as well. We're also working on a super duper throttle body.
Yeah, and transmission tuning as well is going to be available.
Yes. Upgrades for E85.
Stock.
Stock fuel pump is
stock system.
Yeah, stock system is really nice on those.
Yeah, because those are dual injector, so you've got a lot more heavy metal.
Yeah. Yep. So hang in there, it's coming. We also haven't found any phantom magical problems that we solved, like has been stated.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So one other tuner, they kind of make up problems and then say they solved them, which is a pretty old sales tactic, right? But no, we didn't report any. We have not discovered or cannot corroborate any of the supposed issues with this platform that have been solved for. My new 034 billet oil cap arrived a few days ago. Is it going to be stuck on my car until I can find someone to make the tool you guys have referenced? How do you suggest to open it without the tool?
No, you can open it just like an oil cap.
You can open it without the tool. If the motor is hot, you can wait for it to cool down, or you can use like a rag or a cloth or something. The tool is extremely easy to make. Do we have the plans uploaded there?
Should I go get the wood one?
We need to put the wood one up. That's not up? It's supposed to be. Why isn't the wood one up?
We never got any information.
Can you email engineering and ask them what the hell's going on with the wood one? I came up with a simple design for a wooden one that you could literally, you can go to Home Depot and or you can go, I mean, honestly, don't go out of your way. You could also just go into your garage or your dad's garage and glue a few pieces of wood together. You could also come up with something yourself, but you just need something
it's incredibly simple. It's just two parallel.
You need something that creates two parallel surfaces that have a 1-inch internal distance, and it needs to be about 2 inches.
And this is just as a convenience thing. Like you can obviously take it on and off all day long.
You could also, protect it with something and use some pliers, to open it. So
soft jaw pliers.
And no case would you be stuck with this, but we'll get the plans up for the wooden one as well.
It's really
almost everyone has a friend with a 3
no different than any like old motors used to have metal caps that you deal with this regularly.
They get stuck
yeah,
too. Yeah.
they get stuck. They get crazy hot. So yeah.
Yeah, and if it's too hard to open up, just ask your girlfriend. She'll help you out. On my A6T7 dual pulley tune running E40, what's the pros and cons to running ethanol?
It's going to increase octane quite a lot over a standard. Sorry, I walked away from here. I mean, increasing your octane rating substantially over 91 or 93. That is the primary pro.
You're going to be well over 100 octane.
Yeah, and it comes along with cooler intake, charge temps essentially. You've got added fuel media in there that helps cool the actual chamber. So there's a couple of things in addition to just having a raw octane that helps with. Cons, you're going to be using more fuel. You've got to do a blend.
Blending, it's kind of a pain.
That's
so
kind of it. I mean, you just kind of stress the fuel system more. If you've got a weak in-tank pump or something like that, then yeah, it'll put more load on that. But it's, in my opinion, well worth the trade-off if ethanol is easily available to you.
Is there a difference between your 0 through 4 ResX delete kits and Bullx? I know Bullx has some leaky clamps. I'm not familiar with what Bullx offers, but yeah, I mean,
just the front rest.
Yeah, again, ours are 0 through 4 products. They're made by and engineered by 0 through 4 Motorsport. We provide really good quality, factory quality clamps. So yeah, we stand behind our products. If you ever had an issue, we would take care of you.
Yep.
So I'd say buy from 0 through 4 with confidence.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll be here. Yeah, if there are ever any issues.
As far as performance, we wouldn't know. But I mean, is that it?
I think so.
I mean, it looks kind of similar. So. As far as the pipe diameter and stuff, it might be similar from a performance standpoint. Difference in ignition timing and boost between B9 stage 1 and stage 193. Since 91 makes power, is it more safe?
It makes less power. Is it more safe? There's no one number that I can give you. We spoke about this last week and the week before and before that.
In general, 93 does run.
You're going to get more timing. Yeah, you're going to get a little more timing. It's not generally a huge amount.
Like a few degrees.
It's a few degrees generally, and maybe a little more boost. It depends on the platform and conditions. Normally, we're targeting a torque, not a boost increase necessarily. So with that torque, if you've got more timing, you'll actually have the same boost. So it's not quite that straightforward.
Yeah, there's no. You're looking for a simple answer to a kind of complicated dynamic, but 93 and 91 are not. They're going to be about the same safety. Yeah. You're well within the power capacity on either tune of the drivetrain and engine and fuel system. And like Nate said, 91 is going to run less timing, so it's going to have slightly higher EGTs. 93 is going to run more timing, so the EGTs will be lower. So that
yeah, and then you're requesting more torque though with 93 potentially because you can get away with some more. Again, I'm speaking globally, so EGTs may not differ that much, but you're making more power at the same
So they're both equally safe. Now, once you start getting into kind of stage 3 E85, especially at the high output file end of things, it's less safe, right? Because you're making a lot more power. You're closer to the edge of what the fuel system can support, what the strength of the motor can support, what the head gaskets can support. The thermal load and stress on the spark plugs is substantially higher at that end. So all the stage 1, stage 2 files are going to be pretty darn safe and in the same realm of safety, just because they're all kind of in that middle range that the motor is set up to deal with really well. Early on, I wanted to mention this earlier. Early on in stage 3 tuning, the big push, and maybe many of you remember and have forgotten, the big push was more power, more power, more power. And if you guys remember, like a year and a half ago, we released our tune, and then IE came out, and they were advertising like 10 more wheel. People were losing their minds and like, how do we get 10 more wheel? How come they're making more power? Now everyone has lost interest in that extreme type of power and are looking for something safe, and everyone's kind of sobered up to it. And we have been working with and supporting everyone through all that. But to go back to the original question, but both are very safe files, very low instance of issues or failures. ECS Tuning says, "What's good, guys? Great meeting your team at Wookies. Thank you. I heard I wasn't there, but I heard some great
I haven't made that event before. It's one of the ones.
It sounds like a really good event. Anything else we should jump on real quick?
Yeah, top one.
Top one's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're talking.
Have you all thought of teaming an AI to review log or training an AI to review logs? That way we don't have to wait forever to get log reviews and health checks. Let me know if you need help with that.
Honestly, AI is definitely a strong conversation point. We have a lot with all of the customer service aspects, and that is one of them. Yes,
we will be and are employing AI wherever we can in the business. Like Nate said, we have a lot of aspects of customer service, which are like order status. We don't need a human to answer that.
No, there's so many like repetitive.
And an AI can go into our current systems, gather all the data, make decisions about what to tell the customer with all the correct training. So this also applies to other types of customer service interactions, which we consider log reviews a type of customer service.
Log review has been something I've been wanting to implement more of that on. And it's one of those things though, we with any of these AI things is you got to be careful how much you're leaning on it and what is being replied back to the user. So it's going to take a lot of obvious QC checks and whatnot. Keep the beard going.
We will. I have no plans on getting rid of this.
Past the itchy phase. So
Good. Yeah. It's a couple weeks and then you're out of the woods. But yeah, no, AI is interesting. It's but yeah, it's no free lunch either.
Right.
Implementing it, training it, getting up to speed is a huge project up front.
Yep.
So you reap the benefits of it. Well, we got a lot of questions this week. Thank you, guys. I think the days of us getting to all the questions are probably
they're kind of gone. We've got more than a page, single space page of questions here.
Yeah.
Somebody just nuked them all. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Do we want to talk Kli Max update real quick?
Yeah, we've got somebody's asking us any word on Kli Max updates for Gen 2 and Gen 1 controllers. Yes, there are. We're in the process of pushing. You'll start seeing, or you probably start hearing about some updates. There are 2.1 is the version we've given it. And we're doing both a standard and a race, as we mentioned quite a few times before. So they'll have, and I think after talking with the guys, I think we're going to split it out. You'll see 2 listings, I think, under the transmission, just so we can more clearly state kind of what each is and keep them separate and easier to see. But they're very, very similar files. It's going to, the race version is going to have some faster shifting speeds. That's really about it right now. But yeah, no, those are starting to roll out. They're already up for a number of TCUs. So feel free to check your portal and get up to the latest and greatest. We'll make an announcement when we've got pretty much all the coverage up there, so people don't go running out to look and get disappointed and hit us up. And then as far as Gen 1, that is coming along as well. And I think Nick's going to put out a little feeler for some beta guys.
We're going to need some beta testers for B8 Kli Max.
Yep. So
if you're interested, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, and it's going to have all the same strategies we're doing now with the Gen 2 stuff. Rolled into the Gen 1 controller. So you're going to start off basically where we're with a final product, essentially where we're at now, which is
Speaking of Kli Max, one thing AI won't be doing is naming our products anytime soon. That's something only a human could do.
Oh, I don't know. They got some pretty creative. It's like a thesaurus on crack. So
not at this company.
That's right,
my friend. All right. Well, so maybe
next week.
No, next week. Yes. I think we're okay. Either Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.